Welcome to EVTN News, where I pretend I'm really popular and everyone has to like me. And I identify that I have 100,000 likes on this video, and they have to accept it because this is 2022 and we're into the idea of not offending anyone, including in our Catholic Church. We shouldn't offend anyone. At least that's what the new doctrines say. Anyway, we're going to start out on EVTN News by talking about a Peru bishop. Archbishop Carlos Castillo Metasigolio of Lima, Peru, made the following statement at Mass in December. He said, Jesus doesn't die offering the sacrifice of a Holocaust. Jesus dies as a murdered layman to which he decides not to respond with vengeance and who accepts the cross to give us a sign of life. And he dies as a layman who gives hope to humanity. He dies as a human being like all of you who are present here. We too, because we can't be priests without first being baptized lay people. So he says Jesus was a layman. Okay. And again, like this is, I complain about, the Latin Mass being or not suppressed, but being beaten down. And the problem here is that we have bishops, making completely false statements, and the Latin Mass is the problem. That's ridiculous. You know, if this was 60 years ago, for all of church history up until 60 years ago, this archbishop would have been suspended, or at least forced to retract his statement. So this is the era we're living in. We're also living in the era of a practicing Catholic president, right? The practicing Catholic president skipped Christmas Mass. He chose instead to view Mass virtually from the White House. So there you go, our practicing Catholic president. Not that anyone cares, but this is the Jesuits' hero. Bishop Zanchetta. A Madrid court dismissed May 2021 lawsuit of Bishop Zanchetta, Pope Francis' Santa Marta roommate, against InfoVaticana.com for libel and slander. Zanchetta had asked for 300,000 euros in damages and wanted to know the identity of who publishes Specola, whoever Specola was, who publishes info on Info Vaticana. Zanchetta is indicted in Argentina for LMNOP abuse. That's not in reference to abusing LMNOP. It's in reference to him harassing men. And an interesting detail, when Zanchetta testified in Argentina, he could not be arrested because Francis had provided him with a Vatican passport and diplomatic immunity. Can you believe some of this stuff that's even going on in the church? Like, if you told people, would they even listen? If you told Catholics who just are your everyday Catholics who don't pay attention to the news, would they know this stuff is going on? Pope Francis promoting LMNOP inclined harasser who has diplomatic immunity from the Vatican. It's just unbelievable. I don't have a lot of stories today, so this is probably going to be a quick EVTN, and thanks for joining me on the live stream. I see there's a bunch of people on. National Catholic Register, I generally like them, but they promoted the jab, and I don't like that at all. Gloria TV kind of has a lowdown here. National Catholic Register published this article by Dr. Gwyneth Spader. She is a physician and daughter of George Weigel, and she wrote an article on corrispondenzaromana.it, which is an Italian website, on December 15th, and I would imagine that a lot of that is very similar to what's on the National Catholic Register. There's links to Gloria TV and National Catholic Register in the description down below, and it's a 16-page reply to Archbishop Vigano, who was obviously anti-jab. Archbishop Vigano told Church Militant on December 23rd that Spader is the wife of Dr. Jeffrey Spader, who is the Chief Medical and Scientific Officer of IQVIA, company linked to the pharmaceutical industry, in particular to the manufacturer of jabs. She said that the side effects are they're not a problem. Yet there were reports published that there were quite a few people who are of the age between 18 and 65. Their death rates increased 40% in the last half year. That's not funny, but what happened? What has been happening over the past half year? What kind of requirements have been in place in some states? What have people been losing their jobs over? 40% increased death rate. And it wasn't due to the virus. China, let's move to China. I'm kind of fired up, aren't you? I mean, come on, we're losing our mass, we're losing our church. We're not losing our church. It's just that none of the people in the Vatican are defending. There's none of the people in the Vatican are standing with us. Anyway, let's move to China. The Chinese bishops and religious leaders briefed senior Hong Kong Catholic clergymen on President Xi's version of religion with Chinese characteristics in an unprecedented meeting organized by the mainland's representative office in the city, according to 4 clerics. So basically, China has taken over Hong Kong, and they're trying to impose their religious beliefs, which is atheism. The clerics who attended or had knowledge of the October 31st meeting described it as Beijing's most assertive move yet in its attempts to influence Hong Kong's diocese, which is answerable to the Vatican and includes some high-ranking leaders who have long been defenders of democracy and human rights in the semi-autonomous territory, but not for long. Cardinal Zen is in Hong Kong, so that should say, that should tell you what they stood for originally. Okay, and then I'm referencing an article here in 2017. We're going to take a look back into the past. China banned children from attending religious services in 2017. This is from LifeSite News. In August 2017, over 100 churches in Guangzhou, within the largely Christian Zhejiang province, received official notices that children will be banned from entering any church. Church leaders were told that minors would be turned away at the doors even if accompanied by their parents. The notices threaten Christians caught taking their child to services, stating that they will be dealt with severely. Chinese authorities claim that church attendance thwarts minors from developing a correct worldview and set of values. It says minors receiving religious education and formation too early in churches would seriously affect the normal implementation of the education system, the Ohuai district's notice explained. Officials warned that government inspectors will launch open and undercover investigations on Sundays in both state-sanctioned churches and underground congregations to enforce the ban. This was before Pope Francis sold out the Catholics in China. Not very long before that, because the Vatican made a deal with China about a year later. And what's interesting here is that some people say that the Catholic Church will ban minors from attending the Latin Mass soon. I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. Don't even take that as a rumor. It's just something that people are discussing. They're saying, well, it wouldn't be much of a surprise to see the Francis Church ban children from attending the Latin Mass, and also, I mean, they're pretty much implementing spies to spy on the Latin Mass if they haven't shut them down. And we're going to be under a microscope, so prepare for that. Prepare for your Latin Mass, which is approved by a diocese, to have spies at it, unless you're in a diocese with one of the few good bishops in the United States. I mean, what is that? Springfield, Illinois under Paprocki, Tyler, Texas, Bishop Strickland. Who else? Connolly in Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't even know if Coeur d'Alene's going to go along with the resistance or not. I don't know if he'll put up a fight or if he'll just say, well, can't do anything about it, going to ban it. I don't know. We'll see. That's coming up here in a month. Bishops are going to be emboldened here. So anyway, there's a cardinal who was censored for an antivirus statement. Mauritius State TV NBC censored the Christmas message of Port Louis Cardinal Maurice Piat, 80 years old, the diocese announced on December 28th. Mauritius is an island nation in the Indian Ocean. It's about 2,000 kilometers or 1,200 miles off the southeast coast of the African continent near or east of Madagascar. It's a very tiny island, and there's a cardinal on this island, which is, I don't know, kind of surprising. But they do come from the peripheries under the Francis Church, which actually sort of kind of gives us hope. He had an antivirus statement, so he's not full out Francis Church. So that's good. But he's 80 years old, so he won't be a voting cardinal. Anyway, an eliminated 179 paragraph dealt with the negative effects of the virus measures, quarantine regulations, and increased work from home offices fueling a climate of fear. Piat stressed the economic consequences, example, skyrocketing cost of living and plummeting currency. MBC confirmed the censorship of experts were not in line and with its message, I guess, and broadcasted the entire message on December 29th. So it was great to see the diocese call the government out, or the government run, what is it, the government state run television network. It's great to see the diocese calling them out. I don't know the politics there at all, but that's nice. That's positive. And now going to a famous cardinal who many of you recognize, Cardinal Sarah. He said Francis has his way of guarding the tradition, Cardinal Robert Sarah told French television CNews on December 26th. According to him, Francis has understood not to cut ourselves off from what we received as an inheritance. Sarah insisted that Francis didn't reject the equilibrium between Novus Ordo and Roman Rite, which Benedict XVI created. Okay, I don't know how you get that out of anything. Sarah claimed the application of the motu proprio is left to the wisdom of the bishops. Sure. And Sarah thinks that those who want to pray with the extraordinary form must be respected. So first off, the extraordinary form doesn't exist anymore, but Francis said it's a different rite, which I agree with. I think that the Latin Mass is a different rite than Novus Ordo. And I heard this on Eric Salmon's video. He said that once we get a Catholic Pope, that the Pope may declare the Latin, like he may declare a Latin rite and then Novus Ordo rite. And if that's the case, then it would improve things because the Novus Ordo rite would fade out very quickly and the Latin rite would be embraced. And for anyone who disagrees with that, go to your local Novus Ordo parish and tell me there's a lot of potential of that parish in 30 years. And that's not an insult towards people. And I see healthy demographics as all ages of people attend the Latin Mass. That's in my observation. All ages. It's not just like, oh, they say, oh, look at the young people. Well, no, the only reason people say that is because they're not used to seeing any young people in church. That's the only reason. And so when you go to Latin Mass, there is a distribution of young people, distribution of all ages, a healthy distribution. I'm stressing that a lot, and I think that's pretty good. But yeah, demographics aren't in the favor of the Novus Ordo. That's just how it is. I think I made a prediction, I'm not sure. In either September or October, I said something about a new consistory of Cardinals. And I thought for sure there would be one in 2021, and there wasn't. So I stand corrected. I was wrong about that, I admit it. Now, I think I got my information from a website that said there would be a new consistory of Cardinals in like October. And so I said, okay, here are some names for new Cardinals. And if you want to go back in that video, it's not that long ago, just a few months ago. Cardinals. And I think among them will be Archbishop Roche, or Archbishop Roche, however you say his name, of the CDW. I think that he's pretty much a lock. seems to be very favored by Pope Francis and the Francis Church. I don't know if there will be anyone from the United States. Again, I'm sort of repeating what I said. If you want to see that full video, go take a look at it. But I think in the United States, it's unlikely that we'll see anyone from the United States. He could name Wester a Cardinal. Wester's awful. McElroy's terrible. I think it's Bishop Stowe is probably too young to be named a Cardinal, but that's a possibility. I mean, anything's a possibility, right? Father James Martin's name has even come up a number of times about being named a Cardinal. I don't know. I don't know if Father James Martin will be named a Cardinal. I think if he did, a lot of the normies in the Novus Ordo Church will push back. At least the ones who remotely follow any kind of news, they'll be shocked. I think if Father James Martin is named a Cardinal, I wouldn't be shocked. It'd be surprising to me though. I mean, like I would be surprised just because Father James Martin's not even a bishop. So it's very unlikely that he would be named a Cardinal. But I kind of hope he is, because then I hope that there's a lot of pushback. That's what I mean. I'm just hoping that at this point we need to have a very strong resistance. And we're building it up. I mean, you look at the Pachamama ceremony. How many people defended that? I don't think a lot of people were starting to not defend it. EWTN turned against Pope Francis in that regard during the Pachamama ceremony, because a lot of people said that the Amazon Synod was going to be radical, and the final document didn't come out with what people were expecting. They were expecting the worst: female deacons, married priests, and that didn't happen. And so some people said, "Oh, it's a miracle." No, it wasn't, because it was still a very pagan document. It was all about the adapting the liturgy to the local culture, which isn't Catholic. It really isn't. It's some kind of weird pagan religion, and it seems like that's what is being promoted by the Vatican now. But there's a new consistory of cardinals expected. This was in the National Catholic Register, and I do still respect Ed Penton's ideas. And he says, it is also conceivable that Pope Francis may dispense completely with the 120 advisory limit of cardinals. So recall, I'm not 100% sure of this, but from what I remember, I think Pope Paul VI expanded the consistory of voting cardinals to 120. Not sure. You can correct me in the comments. So it's been 120 since, I believe, Paul VI. And so whenever some of the cardinals hit 80 years old, they're not eligible to vote, and so you have to replace them. Their voting position. And Pope Francis has been over 120 for a while. But anyway, to continue the sentence, Ed Penton says, Pope Francis it is also conceivable Pope Francis may dispense completely with the 120 advisory limit and expand the number of voting cardinals to 150 or more, but at the moment this seems unlikely. But the fact that he's even discussing this means it's a possibility. Isn't that scary? He would name 30 more voting cardinals. I don't know. San Diego Latin Mass Catholics pushed to an Indian reservation. A new religious community has moved from its previous North County parishes and now attends Sunday morning Mass at the San Juan Diego Center in Paula. A group of lay Roman Catholics, the traditional Latin Mass community of North County, are prior members of St. Mary's Escondido and St. Margaret's Oceanside and now call Paula home. San Diego Bishop Robert McElroy approved the moving of the community to Paula because of diocesan restrictions placed on the celebration of the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass in Latin from the 1962 Missal of Pope John XXIII. The group moved to Paula last September, and every Sunday averaged 200 faithful coming to Mass. Okay. Norbertine priests from nearby St. Michael's Abbey, Orange County, say Mass. So, they're pushed to an Indian reservation. They're really pushed to the peripheries. Isn't Pope Francis all about accompanying those on the peripheries? And now that we're not allowed to post Latin Mass times in our parish bulletins, we truly are on the peripheries of the Catholic Church. So does it apply to Catholics? I don't think so. I think it applies to people that hate the Catholic faith or oppose the Catholic faith. We need to accompany those on the margins. We need to accompany those on the peripheries. But we're going to push the Catholics to the peripheries. We're going to push the Catholics to the margins, and we're not going to accompany them. In fact, we're going to call them rigid. We're going to call them cousins of the devil. And that's that. But at least San Diego still has a Latin Mass. I'm surprised McElroy didn't shut it out completely. He's one of the worst bishops in the United States. What can I say? Okay, and the last thing I wanted to share with you was a little bit of research I did. So there is a story. I was emailed recently. I'm on the Institute of Christ the King's emailing list. And they mentioned something about their Chicago Shrine of Christ the King, how it was undergoing renovations. It's been undergoing renovations for several years, and they're installing, I believe they're installing pipes for the water at this point. So this link is from February 28th, 2016. I'll just read it to you. It says, the Archdiocese of Chicago announced today that it has deeded the Shrine of Christ the King in Woodlawn and the land on which it stands to the Institute of Christ the King Sovereign Priest. The members of the Apostolic Institute have confirmed that they have received sufficient funds for immediate stabilization of the historic shrine building ravaged by fire in October 2015 and which has been determined to be in hazardous condition. The Institute has committed itself to promptly remedying the dangerous condition created by the fire and then following through with the full restoration of the building. So they basically, Supich gave the Institute of Christ the King this burned out building, and they said, yeah, we'll take it and we'll restore it. And he said, good, get it off my hands. And so there was a kind of a partnership that was forged there. Well, not so much now that he has laid the smackdown on the Latin Mass. So this was in 2016, but I think the key statement here, if you're reading it closely, the Archdiocese of Chicago deeded the Shrine of Christ the King to the Institute of Christ the King. You know what that means? The Institute owns that building. And so if they decided to resist Cardinal Supich and he said, all right, you're excommunicated from my diocese, or he suspended them or banned them or whatever he tried to do, whatever canonically illegal tactic he tried to use, they would own the church. And so they could still do their thing, but they would get to keep that diocesan tax that they're currently paying to the Archdiocese of Chicago. And so they'd get to keep more of their money. So it's a win-win situation for the Institute of Christ the King. And this showdown is coming in a month. They got to make their decision on what they're going to do. Are you going to give a pinch of incense to the Novus Ordo on the first Sunday of the month? Because remember, Cardinal Supich said that they're restricted to saying the Novus Ordo facing the people on the first of the month. Every institute. Now, the Institute of Christ the King could apply for the exception, which Cardinal Supich may grant, and it's a possibility, but they still can't administer the sacrament of confirmation. And what other sacrament? Old Rite orders, Old Rite holy orders, Old Rite ordinations, which I don't know that really applies in Chicago. Who knows? They can just go to a different diocese, a different region, be permitted to do that. So, but there's potentially a showdown coming up, and they own the building. So, why not resist? They'll have the money. I mean, come on. This is going to set the standard for everyone. Okay. Thank you for all the comments, everyone. A lot of live streamers today. Really appreciate that. This is probably the most on EVTN news. But am I really that surprised? Because EVTN identifies as the #1 Catholic news program on YouTube. So of course we have a ton of live streamers. I see 17, but I identify as having 17,000. I'm going to talk about that all the time and say, I'm going to go to all the churches and brag about it and pass out my business cards. If you ever meet me, I'll give you a business card, but you're already on the channel. Anyway, perfect timing, slow roasted marshmallow for this coming out party of hatred for tradition. I am now a rat poison trad, and only goal is to defend Holy Mother Church. All right, good for you. That's great. We need more fighters. Okay, Matrix, there's always the Eastern Rite liturgy if you can't find a TLM. I do want to talk about that just very quickly. Might actually do a show about this at some point. Eastern Rite's a good idea. Gotta find a Reverend Eastern Rite though. That's the tough part. Some of them have modernism. I was at a Byzantine liturgy where they gave you the option of communion in the hand. Nah, no thanks. So gotta find a reverent one. All right, this past weekend, 2 high masses at the monastery. These priests are as close as we can get to Christ. I am with them to the end. Good stuff. I'm a revert, and the Lord led me to TLM. As of Pentecost Sunday, I feel like Daniel being thrown to the lion's den. Not quite, because we're all a team, you know. I mean, we're not abandoned by ourselves. Oh, this phone is a lot of fun. Not really. Trying to look up comments. There's no Eastern Rite near me. No SSPX or FSSP only diocesan. Sorry, Rose, for that. But you can contact the SSPX. Do it. Contact them. Doesn't hurt to contact them. Send them an email. Give them a call. Say, hey, we only have diocesan Latin masses near me. Plan ahead. Doesn't hurt. Roche is a roach. Roach is more suitable. Okay, yeah, so that's what people say. Call him Archbishop Roach. I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to pronounce half the words I talk about. All these dioceses in foreign countries. I mean, you hear me butcher them. All right, my local Novus Ordo parish is a unicorn and even has a new, older reverend priest. Happy for that, but I no longer, in good conscience, can participate in the Novus Ordo Mass. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you can get a reverent Novus Ordo, but then the problem, and people are saying this, okay, the problem with the reverent Novus Ordo is that when your priest is transferred out, you don't have the reverent Novus Ordo. I mean, that's one of the problems. A lot of people will tell you about the problem with the reverent Novus Ordo. I don't know. There's good people that attend Novus Ordo, Novus Ordos. There's a lot of good people, and it's up to us to bring them the tradition if it's a possibility. Some of them are already want to become traditional Latin Mass Catholics, but there's no Latin Mass locally for them, unfortunately. And that's really disappointing. Only 3% of people are Catholic where I live, Rose. Wow. Okay. Pachamama. East Tennessee. East Tennessee is a cool place. I really like it. The Smoky Mountains, just a really great location. Awesome wildlife. I want to go back. I want to go back and visit. Maybe I'll stop by. Maybe I'll say hi to you, Rose, if I stop by and visit sometime. East Tennessee. The mountains, the Smoky Mountains are so cool. That's kind of going off on a tangent there. But let's see. I only left Arlington, Virginia. Burbage clamped down the TLM there last week, which I expected. I don't think, and here's my thought, and I heard this on the SSPX podcast. Father Paul Sherry said, don't move somewhere immediately just to get closer to Latin Mass. You have to take your time to discern it. Because if you're moving specifically for the Latin Mass, like look how many people would have moved to an FSSP or Institute community, or move closer to an FSSP or Institute community. What's happening to them now? They just, I don't want to say it was a waste of time, but they're having the same problem now as they had whenever the situation caused them to move. So, I don't know. I think it's also, St. Mary's, Kansas, that's a big SSPX area. There are SSPX locations with elementary schools and high schools, which is good, but take your time to figure out where you're going to move. Don't make a quick decision and move somewhere and then end up regretting moving later on down the road if there's cancellations or anything. Now, Father Sherry also said that you shouldn't have a Catholic YouTube channel unless a priest tells you to start a Catholic YouTube channel. I don't know. Okay. Too bad you can't move somewhere where there's a TLM. Yeah, like I said, um, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying you really got to diversify your options too. If there's only one, like for me, I'd love to have a Byzantine liturgy and a Latin Mass nearby where I'm at, both of them. So I have options and I can have my foot in both communities. I think that's a great idea, but that's for you to determine your situation. Sticka is the bishop here and so far allows a TLM. Sticka is a very weird character. I'll say that. He used to spout stuff off on Twitter. Now I don't know if he even is on Twitter. Um, he would try to make like the trads angry, and then he'd try to make the modernist heretics angry. And he succeeded a lot of times in doing both, but mostly the trads because he could provoke them easier. Okay, moved here because of TLM. Oh, yeah. Well, hey, Rose, I mean, like I said, SSPX, I'm sure they wouldn't mind. I don't know. I don't think they'd mind opening Priory and in the Smoky Mountains. It's a beautiful place. I wonder if the Institute will abide by the instructions from Rome in conformance with Vatican II, but won't do the Supich Novus Ordo stuff. What will happen then? And here's my thought. There could always, like I said, there was this exception. Cardinal Supich said, okay, if there are exceptions available if you apply for it. It's entirely possible. Well, the Institute certainly will apply for this exception because they're all about, being their canonical status and everything. Supich may grant them an exception to say the Latin Mass on first Sundays. I think that's a possibility because what's the other possibility? Like I said, the Institute leaving or telling Supich get lost, we have our own church and there's nothing you can do about it. And they keep their diocesan tax money. Remember, all the donations that go to a church get taxed by the diocese. There's a certain portion of that money that's taxed. In some dioceses, I've heard it's 20%. So if you donate $10, $2 of your dollars go to the diocese. If you donate $100, 20 of that goes to the diocese. It's kind of sad, but that's how it works. How is the chance to repay all those people that work there in the diocese, where you have like the faith formation coordinator who sends out emails to all the faith formation directors of every parish, and then you have like, I don't know, just all kinds of positions. I mean, obviously you have your legal team, your finance team, your PR team, communications. They were making all kinds of excuses about why you should still donate money when a lot of that went towards cover up. And yeah, but yeah, you have your diocesan staff, and that money goes towards them. My parents almost went to St. Mary's, but ironically they had their life savings stolen by an SSPX priest. They were stuck then. I'm almost 63. I don't think I can move again. Well, I certainly hope your situation works out for you. Your Latin Mass is not gone yet. That's the thing. I mean, I talk about like, I don't try to be a doom trad. I mean, it kind of is. It's hard not to be right now, but it's not gone yet. So enjoy it while you still have it, and maybe you won't lose it. I mean, that's a possibility. I really think that inch by inch they'll clamp down on the Latin Mass everywhere. They want to stop the flow of grace from heaven. Yeah, okay, so, yeah, but and I'm not a spiritual director. I'm not someone who's going to give you any advice. I think you need to find a good one. You need to find a good spiritual director, especially if you're discerning like moving, where you should move, whether or not you should move. Find someone. I can't give you that advice for you because you know what's best for yourself. That's just how it works. Every situation is different, and we need to acknowledge that, but also we need to build a community. I think you need to find a good community, and a lot of people can do that in their local areas. It's hard, might be hard, but you can find it. Dig through dig through wherever, like dig through the mud, try to find some good people, rosary groups, prayer groups, Bible study groups. See who's out there. Those with young children need to think hard. Yeah, well, that's tough because a lot of them A lot of them were leaving the Novus Ordo for the Latin Mass. And that's what's particularly demonic about this situation, is that they were finding a reverent atmosphere for their children. And now, if this Latin Mass is canceled, they have to go back to the balloon Mass or whatever, the My Little Pony Mass, where there's rainbows and you sing My Little Pony instead of the Gloria, and the priest freestyles all his prayers. And I mean, maybe it's not as bad, but the thing is, my thing for the bare minimum reverent Novus Ordo priest ad orientem. If the priest facing the people, it's not a reverent Novus Ordo. Doesn't matter how long. Doesn't matter how much the priest follows the text. Doesn't matter. It's not a reverent Novus Ordo. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'm surprised there's so many people on this live stream. And a lot of likes. Maybe if I identify as being the #1 news program, maybe it is. I'm going to speak it into existence. I'm going to pull a LeVar Ball right now. I'm going to speak it into existence. And guess what? His youngest son just won Rookie of the Year in the NBA. So what speaking it into existence works. He created his own brand, and there was some fraud going on with that. But whatever. His sons were making millions. Lonzo just got paid millions. I'm going to speak it into existence. This is the #1 news program on YouTube. You're here. You've seen it first. You guys are the groundbreakers for this #1 news program on YouTube. And I'm really glad you're here. The most educated Catholics on YouTube. I don't even know why I'm talking, because it's you guys who know more than I do. I know that the Lord is allowing this for a reason. He is trying to wake his children up and get those in the hierarchy to realize what they are doing is wrong. For sure. I hope so. I mean, how many people have woken up? A lot of people in the last 3 or so years. I was one of them. Is it 3? Maybe it's 4. It's 2022 right now. Wow. Last 4 or so years. Last 8 years. A lot of people have woken up. And I was one of them. So I can't criticize the people that haven't woken up yet. They will. If they're a faithful Catholic, they will. Augustinian Monastery in West Virginia is most Catholic place on earth. All the sacraments in Latin. Only 3 priests and a brother. Titans. Check out their YouTube channel. Okay. Thank you for updating us so we can tell others. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining this live stream. This has been EVTN News, where we're breaking the Catholic news. There wasn't a whole lot this week, but I guarantee you this month there's going to be a lot of stuff that goes down with the Amazon Synod. Amazon Synod, man, we're having a flashback here. The Synod on Synodality. That's going to be huge. These bishops are going to be ramping it up this month. They're also going to be waiting to see what Supich does in Chicago, how the Institute's going to push back, and then these bad bishops are going to launch some restrictions. Maybe even some of the good bishops will. So, oh, great new video from Archbishop Vigano on John Henry Weston channel. I'll have to check it out. This is EVTN News, so we report what Vigano says and does. Anyone ever watch St. John Cantius? Check out my Supich video for the St. John Cantius statement. See what they're going to do, which is nothing. Roll over and play dead. Yeah, check that out, Freedom Fighter. My video from I don't know if it was last week, probably last week, about Supich's crackdown on Latin Mass. There's a statement from St. John Cantius. They're just going to roll over and play dead. They'll say the Novus Ordo exclusively if Cardinal Supich tells them to. And they'll say it facing the people if he tells them to. I thought Cardinal Sarah was one of the good ones. Let's see. I thought Cardinal Sarah was one of the good ones. What do they have on him that he is cracked like that? I think Cardinal Sarah's Opus Dei. Blind obedience. And so he's not going to... Cardinal Sarah's not our ally in this fight. He's not going to fight. That's just plain and simple. A lot of people say, oh, he's super trad. If he were Pope, he'd probably be a good Pope. Because he'd expect the obedience that he gives to these popes. but the obedience he gives these popes is blind. And so whenever a pope says something crazy or even contradictory to the Catholic faith, Cardinal Sarah is not going to push back. He's demonstrated that for years. Um, okay, yeah, St. John Cantius, that's good, but they might not be able to say the Latin Mass, and that's by choice, by their choice. They're not going to fight back. We cannot know Cardinal Sarah's heart, only his actions, and his actions have proven that he's not going to fight with us. Sad, but he's not going to join us in this fight. He's just not. He's proven that time and time again. All right, thank you so much for watching. This has been EVTN News. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.